Men, understanding why and how you should train your power may just be the most important thing you do with your time today. My promise to you, if you give this video your full attention, you will understand why power is important and how to train it, even when you are old and crusty in your 40s, 50s, 60s and 70s. Just a little overview on why it's important. As we get to about the age of 40, our type 2B muscle fibres start to slowly degenerate. These muscle fibres are responsible for strength, power and speed. Not many men are training their power and speed as they got on a little bit. Who the hell am I? My name is Paul Green. I'm an online coach. I run a longevity program. I'm a former British paratrooper and Special Forces support group operator. I've spent most of the past decade training elite men across the fence, including those in the RAF, the Royal Marines and the Parachute Regiment. One thing I have noticed is that the older men get in these elite units, the more leadership roles they have, the more responsibility and the more weight that are on their shoulders. With that in mind, they are required to operate at a higher level in higher stress situations. So, they need to train to a higher standard to maintain an elevated level of physical fitness and also an elevated level of mental fitness as well, to ensure that they can problem solve and operate at a high level to lead others. So hopefully I offer a unique perspective on all of these matters, and yeah, my words add a little bit more weight than your average lunatic on the internet. So what is power? Power is, it's a mixture of three things. It's a mixture of speed. So you've got speed on this side of the scale, you've got strength on this side of the scale, and right in the middle you've got power. So you've got strength here, and you've got explosive strength here, you've got power, and then you've got how can I be more powerful? How can I maintain that power but be quick as possible here? Quick as possible would be you moving as fast as possible with barely any resistance over here. Here is moving extremely slowly with as much resistance as possible. Here, a complete mixture of the two. And then here is a mixture of power and strength, which is explosive strength. And then you've got a few other bits here that are pretty confusing. So how do you train? How do you train your power? So if you to know how to train your power, you've got to know how to train your speed. Because most people in the gym train their hypertrophy and then they'll go heavier and heavier and heavier and start training strength. So strength is usually more commonly trained out of all of these. Now, if we were truly considerate of counteracting the decline of our type 2B muscle fibres, which is power, speed and strength, we would train all three of these areas. Now, if you are on the longevity program, good effort. If you're on your power and speed block, which is a 12-week block, we focus on all three of these areas. And it gets 12 weeks of attention. It's absolutely great. But what you can do is you can start thinking about training your speed or your power or your strength. When you're training your speed, instantly everybody thinks, to train speed, I need to sprint up a hill as fast as possible. No. All you need to do is do the movements that you're not already doing, right? Do the movements that you're already doing at half the resistance, but double the speed. Does that make sense? So for example, if you're doing 80% of your 1 rep max on your squats to improve your muscle size of your legs and your strength, you would then go to 40% of your 1 rep max. And then you would move the barbell and you would move the reps faster. And I don't know, maybe record yourself when you're doing this, right? And how long does it take you to do a set of 10 at 40% of your 1RM? Because this is you training speed. So if you train in speed, you want to actually improve the speed in which you conduct the set. I hope you understand that. So again, if you were doing 40% of your 1RM, then 20% of your 1RM, how fast is it going to take you to do that? And then eventually, because your goal with this type of training is to actually improve the speed of this brain signal to the muscle. You're training this bang. You want that quickness. You want pure quickness. And it has to be rapid, like as fast as possible, because it doesn't really matter. At this point, it doesn't matter about how much weight you're lifting, because you just want the speed. So how do you improve the speed? Reduce resistance. Keep reducing the resistance until you've got a baseline. Obviously, if you keep reducing the resistance, you'll be at 0% of your 1RM, which is probably body weight. And then you can go sub body weight. So then you can start to put resistance bands underneath you in order to make you move faster, which again achieves that goal of pure speed. Once you've established a foundation of speed and you see where you're at, and I'm talking about not just about the squat, by the way, this could be deadlift, this could be a pressing movement, it could be press ups, sub body weight. So you do it with resistance bands, and the resistance band's intention is to help you out with these movements in order for you to complete a set of 10 as fast as possible, because any resistance is just going to slow you down. And remember, like I said earlier on, power is strength times speed. But that's me talking about speed. How do we bring it into power? Well, power you can hit it from two ways. You can either come from the speed side, which is simply adding the resistance on to the similar movements that we've been talking about, until it's, at that sweet spot where you're right in the middle. Or you can come from the strength side. And coming from the strength side, usually, either way, these two ways of training, in the middle of these two, are usually really enjoyable, really fun. So you've got your strength training. Let's say, for example, your 5x5, moving heavy weights, moving slowly, lots of resistance, 90% resistance, 90% 1RMs, 95% 1RMs, and you're just moving really slowly, but you're just really trying to build strength. That's absolutely awesome. But it's not that good really if you're only doing strength, because you're missing out on power and speed. Missing out on power and speed, you're missing out on 2/3 of this decline potentially being counteracted with some, really effective training. How do you make strength more explosive? Well, explosive strength is, really starting to focus on conditioning that strength into some real life movements. For example, your jumps, your box jumps, your med ball slams, throwing med balls really far, as far as you can, 5 repetitions, med ball, just fling it really hard, nice and heavy. And then when we get to power, how do you think we go from strength to power? For example, if we're doing strength, we're in the gym, we're doing our movements, very limited movements, we're nice and strong. And if speed is over here, how do we get from really strong bench press to a really powerful chest? Yes, we lower the resistance, but we can spice up our training sessions with some really fun movements. We can move really heavy resistances with med balls, slam balls and stuff like that, and we can press and we can throw stuff in order for us to convert that strength that we've worked so hard to get. We can convert it into power, but the only way we convert that is by moving faster. We can be really boring with this stuff, right? We can literally keep the same 3 movements. We could do bench, squat, deadlift, right? The typical 3. And we could move through a power and speed with all 3 of them. But there is a lot of movements out there which you can use, like jumping, throwing, sprinting. We can throw in the mix here just to make you a more well-rounded athlete. And that's where you can put them in. When you're getting out the way, when you're moving away from strength, you can start to jump, you can start to do box jumps, you can start to throw med balls as far as you can within certain rep ranges, and then the resistance gets less lowered again, so then you can move faster. Now you're into the power, and then it gets reduced again, the resistance, because as you start to really target the speed stuff, and then it gets reduced again at the end in order to fully reduce the resistance and improve your speed. But Hopefully you appreciate that little overview and my little hand signals. But I just want you to appreciate that it's actually really doable, and it's not just doable, it should definitely be done, and it should be definitely part of your training program. And it just requires you to understand what I've just said, but also it requires also you to pick which way you want to go. Do you want to be more strong and powerful? Do you want to be powerful? Because that means you need to balance the two, speed, strength. You need to be relatively balanced in order to make it more powerful. Do you want to be more quick? Which means the priority would be staying away from the heavy loads and the slow movements. Or do you want to be more strong? With power and speed, that transfers a lot more into the real world. Moving quickly, changing directions, jumping up walls, climbing trees, just being a kid again. Do you know what I mean? Power speed is a lot of people don't train it. So it'd be one way to completely elevate yourself with regards to the function of your body and your brain, because power comes from the brain power. Elevate yourselves way above the typical man. To summarise, power comes from the intent in which you have before you even walk into the gym. But more importantly, before you start that working set. There's two ways you can go. Your intention could be slow and strong, or your intention could be like basically extremely fast. With that, obviously, there needs to be a reduction in resistance, a massive reduction in resistance to create that speed. Speed is important if you want to train your power, just like strength is important if you want to train your power. And power is the balance of them two things. Gentlemen, hopefully you enjoyed the video. This is why training power is extremely important, and hopefully I'll give you more than enough to add in your back pocket, so then you can start bringing this stuff into your training and not just limit yourself to just training strength. The reason we don't want to just train strength is because that is only 1/3 of our type 2B muscle fibres. The other 2/3 are power and speed, and if we want to truly counteract this decline, then we need to hit them other areas. Don't be scared to do it. You can keep it really simple in movements in which you are already competent at. See you more, gents.